the other 16 pairs I had gotten over the course of 4 years. So a bit of a hoarder, but that's really not important here. I want to ask you, Riley, what was your favorite part of the bye week? You mentioned having fun. I know you did your housework, and that's great. But what was the most fun part of your week and your time away from the game?
I think the golf. I can't lie. Like, it was electric. Like, we'd been talking about it for a long time. And I think there was a lot of build-up. So there was a bit of pressure on there too, like whether would stand up to the other bye week golfs that we've had.
Tell me you didn't feel – we had a draft. And tell me you didn't feel like a little slighted. I feel like our team, like, we kind of got looked down upon.
I agree.
It was you, me, Tyler Warren, and then Keaton Ellis.
Keaton Ellis, yeah.
And I feel like they kind of looked down upon us, and it was like, all right, watch this.
No one gave us a shot.
Yeah, and we came in unison. We were dressed in all black, every single one of us, everything, head to toe. We looked good. It was a clean.
We looked the part, and I think that was evident in the playing. It was great. It was great.
Riley, I want to get into a little bit of football, of course, but before we do that, I've never had the opportunity. I just have now realized this. I've never had the opportunity to ask an Australian man about their take on Outback Steakhouse, and I want to know if it comes time to go get a steak, where does Outback rank in terms of places you can go for that?
I'm not gonna rank. I'm not gonna do any rankings. Okay. Outback's good. It was good when we had it here. I used to go out there a little bit just to get a bit of a feel for home.
Is it seriously anything like home? Like,
not really. Well, I mean, it is in the sense of like we have pubs that people go and eat at, and that's kind of the food that you'd get there anyway. So it is like that. But people ask us like, oh, what do you eat back home and things like that, and I'm like, it's kind of just like everywhere else. So. No, I do miss it a little bit. I did go a little bit. Okay. But yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad.
What's your favorite like Australian food that you guys eat over there that we don't eat at all over here? You don't ever see.
I was thinking about this the other day. It's not even Australian, but like I love banh mi's, which is like a Vietnamese roll.
Okay.
And they're really popular back home. Like they're everywhere. And it's actually the first place I go to after I land. Like after the airplane land, my mom picks me up and she takes me there. And when I get some banh mi's, it's just like my favorite food ever. It's just like basically like a bread roll with Vietnamese food and like pork belly and things like that in it. It's pretty good though.
I think you'd like it. Oh, I would like it too. You said pork belly. I love pork belly. Well, how long is the flight back to Australia?
It's usually like in like full transit, probably 25 to 30 hours.
Oh, that's insane.
So how often are you home during the year? I mean, obviously right now you're a college football player and there's already limited time to go home if you just live in Maryland or Ohio, but you're all the way in Australia. So how often are you back?
Usually twice a year. Okay. I usually get 2 trips of about 2 weeks. I think it's going to be a little bit different this year, just depending on playoffs and things like that. So it might make it a little bit harder. But yeah, usually twice a year. I usually get a break after the spring semester and the break at the end of the year. But yeah, as I said, things can come up and it might change. But I've been lucky enough to kind of get home about twice a year, which has been really good.
That's awesome, man. I want to talk about, starting in Australia. How did you get involved into football living in Australia?
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one. So I always knew about like football and like NFL and college football and things like that, and always thought it was really cool. I didn't really know a whole lot about the game. I'd never really watched. I'd watched like bits and pieces and highlights and things like that, but I didn't really know too much about it. A lot of my friends loved it. But there's a program back home called Pro Kick Australia, and they kind of train guys up, get you like sorted with like all the gear and like what you need to know how to punt and things like that, because it is a little different. And my best friend, who's the punter at Tennessee, he went down there and started like giving it a go, just because he wasn't sure what he was going to do. And he invited me to go have to kick the ball with him. And I was like, I may as well give it a crack. And we started kicking, and he was like, mate, like you're pretty good. You should probably check it out. And I ended up going down there and then, pretty much started that and then made my way here eventually. So
yeah. Can you talk about that first transition into FAU down in Florida and how you got there?
That was crazy. So I didn't know I was going to be able to get there. There was a bunch of complications with documents and things like that. And eventually they were like, all right, you're set to go in like, I think it was about a month. They were like, yeah, get ready to go. We're going to send you. And then I got there and it was 3 days before fall camp. So I had kind of like, it was the first time when I got there, the guys were like, come out for a kick. I was like, no worries. And I went out with them, and it was the first time I'd caught a snap, first time I'd stepped on a field, like first time I'd seen football posts. And I was just like, I was so lost. It was good. Like, I'm kind of glad I went into like that fall camp period because it's just like 24/7 football. So it made it easier for me to pick up things and get used to things rather than it kind of being like on and off days like it is in spring. So it was good in that sense, but it was crazy. I'd like that first training. I remember it was a Friday night and I was just like, what is going on?
I think we all know how hard fall camp is. So I can't imagine your first football experience being straight into college football fall ridiculous. Camp. That is absurd. So congrats to you, honestly, for not like quitting. That's it. That was your first experience. That's amazing.
The jet lag too was crazy. Like, I was jet lagged as well. And it would be like, we'd have like the 7:30 meetings and I'd be like falling asleep. And then people would be like tap me, and the coach was kind of like, I feel bad for this kid. Like,
I think that's so interesting. And Landon, you can speak to this too, because I mean, even if you're not from Australia, I mean, we both played football in high school. We played for good high school football programs. So we didn't come into Penn State with no understanding of what football was really like as a sport. But freshman year training camp, I think you're hard pressed, even without the international move, to find something more difficult for an 18-year-old boy to do coming into college. I can remember my freshman year of football camp and thinking to myself several times on the way to the Lash building that I just wanted to go back to Ohio. I did not want to go into Lash. I no longer was interested in playing in the NFL, and it was nothing like what I expected. So kudos to you for finding a way through that.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It was awesome though. Like, I'm glad it worked out the way it did, because I think it kind of situated me for the season so much better than anything else. So it was kind of just like that little grind. And then once I got over the hump, it was all set.
So I want to ask you, I feel like a lot of high school kids come into college with bad habits and with things in their technique that are not actually correct that they've been able to get away with in high school. Do you feel like there was actually some type of advantage in not having a full understanding of football before you got to college?
I think definitely, like, nerve-wise, I was kind of like, everyone kind of knew that I didn't really have a whole lot of understanding. So I feel like people,
it's hard to be nervous if you don't know what's going on. It makes it hard to be nervous.
I mean, like, I didn't really know. Like, I was just like, kind of like, my thought process was like, just go out there and enjoy it. Like, go and have fun. Like, this is the first time you're experiencing all these things. So just take it all in, whether it's good or whether it's bad, just kind of go with it. And I think that was kind of the main thing that held me in really good stead, because it definitely was a slow start. Like, I feel like the coach a couple of times was probably like, why'd I get this kid from Australia? Can't kick a ball. But I mean, it all worked out in the end. You got to kind of take the good and the bad in and just run with it.
Yeah, no doubt. I just want to circle back to Hawk talking about freshman year camp. I remember, like, you're third string, and it's just when you start practice, it's like, how can I get to the end of practice? It's just like, it's a survive mentality. So I just want to say that when you see these young guys excelling as true freshmen, it is so incredible and just impressive. And we got a couple guys, and Coach Franklin even today, was talking about Luke Reynolds, gave him the green light to burn his red shirt. Andrew Rapelier is out for a little bit. So Luke Reynolds, he said, hey, you got the green light. You're going to play more than 4 games. And he did the same thing with Dejon Lane and Cooper Cousins. So we got a couple of young dudes that are really excelling. So I don't mean to take away for a second. I just wanted to bring up, like, that freshman year. It's impressive when guys do well. But Riley, I want to talk about now. We talked about FAU. What was that transition like then to Penn State and choosing where you wanted to go from FAU? Yeah,
it was interesting. It was kind of a tough one. I love like FAU. It was a great place. The people were really good to me there. But unfortunately, like, the academic side wasn't working out. So I kind of had to look after myself and make the right decision for my academic future. But for me, Penn State was a no-brainer. Like, I tell this story to a bunch of people when I was like back home before I had like had left, and when I was kind of just starting out. I was punting with one of my good friends who's now at Indiana State, and I was just having a really good day. And he's like, oh, like, if you punt like this all the time, you could really pick any school. Like, where would you pick? And my first answer back to him was Penn State. So really? I kind of say that, and it was funny. Like, when I called him, that was the first thing he said when I told him. So when I like entered the portal and Penn State reached out, I was kind of pretty much set from there. It was a no-brainer.
So, I mean, we always ask guys why they chose Penn State, but I'm especially curious to hear what your why was. Again, not even really being from here. At what point did you decide that Penn State was the destination in mind?
I think, like, I talk about this a lot. Penn State has like such a history with punters. Like, if you look back at like the previous punters in recent times as well, like, it's always been such a great strength, and that really appealed to me. The college town, I always wanted to be in a college town, and I've loved it ever since I've been here. So that was also a huge play in it, and the fans and the atmosphere on game day. You can't beat it. So they were kind of the main points that I was like really excited about, and kind of made it a pretty easy decision for me.
I love that you're talking about, how Penn State is, because honestly, unless you went here, like we all know how special of a place this is, not only the people around it, but just when you're here, like the summer. I mean, look out there. If you're here, you can look outside right now. It is beautiful in State College.
It is.
It's just different. But I have to bring this to food. What is your favorite place in State College to go get some food, Riley? Because you obviously very diverse. You have food everywhere. What's your go-to spot in State College?
I'm gonna have to say Texas Roadhouse. That's that's just out. Like everyone in the football building knows, like that's our spot too. Like they just know that we're like a bunch of us go there all the time. Like it's just a spot that we love to go to. I do love Big Dean's. I will get Big Dean's a lot. Yeah. Really good. They're probably the two like standouts for me, I'd say. And I'm always at Campus Steaks too. I can't like separate those three, but they're up there for sure.
I don't want to take all of the credit for Penn State football being a Texas Roadhouse as much as they are. I really hate to be that guy. But I'm going to tell you that 2018, when I got to school, I remember taking PJ Mustapher to Texas Roadhouse for the first time. And then from there, that group just got bigger and bigger. Next year, we add Doc. Here comes Tyler Elson. And now all of a sudden, I leave and everybody on the team wants to go to Texas Roadhouse every week, and I had to do the convincing. So no problem, Riley.
What's funny is that I was going to say that Doc started that in my head.
Doc did not start that. That's the thing with Nick Dawkins. For those back home watching, I'm not going to get off on a dog tangent.
He does. I feel like he does claim it too.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm not going to acknowledge that because I'm going to get off on a whole tangent on Nick Dawkins. Anyway, Riley, you are a captain of Penn State football this year. Which to me, as far as, high-level athletes and what they can achieve within their sport, there is few that I put above being a captain, being selected by your peers for that role of leadership. Number one, I want you to tell us about that moment you found out you had won the captain job. And then also, I want you to explain to us what it's like now in season in different ways you're trying to lead the special teams groups on Saturdays.
Yeah, it was funny. So there was originally like a group text with like a bunch of people in Destiny being like, "Oh, we need you to come in and meet with Coach Franklin, and like we want your parents there and stuff like that." And I sent a screenshot to my parents, and Mom's first reaction was like, "What have you done?" I was like, "I don't think I've done anything. Like I'm not sure.
We're gonna find out together."
Yeah, I was like, "We're gonna find out. Like we'll figure it out." But it was funny. I had a good laugh at when she was like, "Oh, I hope you're not in trouble." But obviously my parents couldn't make the trip out, unfortunately, but I was able to FaceTime them, which was also really funny because I had them on full volume and I don't think they realized that they were on full volume when like everyone was speaking, they'd chime in with things, but it was good. When I was shocked though. I was honored. I feel like being selected by your peers to lead the team is the greatest honor you can get in a team sport. So to have that recognition was like a feeling I'd never had before. I was so appreciative of it. But yeah, then being able to look down and see my family all on FaceTime smiling and clapping and things like that was pretty special. Yeah, it's something I'll never forget, and I'm so glad that I have that memory, especially with them being there too. I was really grateful. But in terms of like Saturday and things like that, I don't think anything really changes. You kind of just keep going about your business, being there for the guys, showing them the right way to do things and the right way to go about it. As specialists, everyone like prepares differently because it's so unique in the way that we play. Everyone kind of does their own thing and has their way about going about things on game day. So kind of just letting people do what they need to do, being there if things don't go as well as the happier you are, the better you're going to perform in my eyes. So we kind of stay pretty tight on game day. We're all talking with each other. And I think in that room, especially, that we have such a tight-knit group that we all know how to help each other. So it's not necessarily just me being there. It's all the other guys being there for each other. Even if you're not playing or you're not contributing on the day, you're still being there for each other. And I think we've kind of built that morale and that chemistry together as a group.
Yeah, Riley, you're talking about your achievements. Just last week, Riley was named the Ray Guy Punter of the Week award after Bowling Green.
Thank you.
Yeah. How did you? Who told you that you won it? How did that work?
I was on the way. I was walking into class and I look at my phone and I'd been tagged in a post and I had no idea.
Cool.
I walked in, I was smiling, and Jaden Sider, I have class with him, and he's like, "What are you so happy about?" I was like, "Don't worry about it, man." It was awesome though. I appreciate the Penn State fans because, as I said, yeah, it's a fan vote. So I'm so grateful for everyone that voted for me and supported me. It was a big honor.
Yeah, you talk about the fan base, and I know your parents have made it to how many games? At least one, right? So far,
they've been to 3 or 4.
3 or 4. That's awesome. That's a long trip. Their first experience like in Beaver Stadium, I have to know.
I'm just glad that we're not allowed to use our phones, and our phones usually don't have service, because I feel like if it did, my phone would have been blowing up, because I don't think they had any idea about like the size. Like they just had no idea, and we had a plan of where they were going to go, where they were going to be, to like kind of set up to like see them before I walked in. And as I was like walking along down the side, I just feel like someone grabbed my arm and it was my sister. And I was like, they were meant to be like all the way down the other end. So, I mean, she would have barged her way through to grab me and say hi. So I'm grateful for that. But my family was shocked. Like you can't prepare someone for like what happens on game day. There's nothing like it. And they were just the whole time they had their phones out taking photos, watching, like sending it to people back home, kind of being like, this is amazing. And that game, that West Virginia game that they came to last year, the first home game, I feel like was a pretty special one too, with the helmet stripe as well. So yeah, they were definitely shocked. My sister, I remember, said like, this is fake. She was like, this doesn't feel like it's real life. But yeah, it was pretty special to have him there. I can't lie.
No, that's awesome, man.
It's funny because it makes me wonder if when you leave Australia to come over here and play football, if they really had a full understanding of like the magnitude of the opportunity at hand before they came to see Beaver Stadium and what you were doing. It's very interesting.
It is, because it's like even your first time, you see it on TV and like we know what we're doing, and you come as recruits and it's like, oh my God, you like look around and I can't imagine that's like that was their first like football experience, right?
Dad came to the spring game. So Dad was kind of on like he was kind of the chaperone of the group, kind of getting everyone sorted and situated about what was going on. But the rest of my family genuinely had no idea. They didn't come to a game at FAU. So that was their first college football experience, was round 1 Beaver Stadium.
I want to ask you, and we ask a lot of our guests this, if you were not playing football, where would you be at? What would you be doing? And what are some of the things that you'd like to do away from the field with your life?
I think I've always had an interest in business. I've always loved like the business side of life. I've always tried to like stay involved in business. I worked at a finance firm before I made my way over here. Kind of just trying different things out, seeing what I like, seeing what I don't like. So anything business related would kind of be my go-to. If sports weren't available, I'd probably try find a way to still be playing a sport. I'd probably try my luck at golf, but I don't know I don't know how.
Don't let him lie. He hits it pretty good. He hits it pretty good.
What is your best sport other than football? And we'll add golf to the list. What else do you play at a high level?
I used to do hammer throw. Hammer throw and shot put was my kind of thing. I won a national championship when I was 16 back home for hammer throw. So that was kind of going to be my thing, and then life just kind of changed and I moved on. They wanted me to put on a bunch of weight and I didn't want to because I love playing AFL. And they were like, you can't, like you kind of have to pick one side. And I was like, yeah, I'm not putting on all that weight. So I decided to play AFL more seriously.
Basically, they told him to go be an offensive lineman.
And he said, absolutely not.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Dang, I wish I would have done that now.
That's hilarious.
Dude. So you have another job on the team that most people don't really talk about. You're the holder.
Yes. Yeah. It does get overlooked a lot.
No one talks about it. What is that like from a process of like, is there a lot of stress on you when you got to catch a ball that's getting fired back there on something that the fans perceive as a sure thing?
Yeah.
And it's like, if you mess it up, it's not a good thing. It's a bad feeling. So what's that like to be the holder?
I think now me, Tydoos, and Sander, we got a really good thing going. So like, as long as you have a good connection between the three of you, you're going to be all sweet. But like the first time going out to hold, I was more nervous than I was going to punt, because not only is like Coach Franklin, Coach Lustig, all going to be angry at you, then you've just let like your kicker down. So you've screwed them up as well. So a lot of people are relying on you to do, which seems like a simple task, but it's not.
I'd imagine you got pretty good hands now, right? Like from it, like you're probably pretty sure-handed at catching the football.
I used to, well, like when I played AFL, that was my job, was to like catch the ball. So the transition that helped a lot, because people don't understand how fast the ball actually comes back at you. Like it's a lot faster than you think. And if it's off a little bit and you have to move it down and get it to there, it's a lot tougher than you think. But Ty Dubes gets me right a lot of the time, so I can't complain about that.
No doubt. We've had some great long snappers for a while here.
Yeah.
Shout out Chris Stoll as well. He's doing his thing
man.
with the Seattle Seahawks. And you get in as a long snapper in the NFL and you just continuously do a good job. And we know Chris Stoll is consistent. Yep. You're in the league for 15 years if you want. So he's in a really good place.
I want to ask you, I think the one thing that's interesting that Coach Franklin does, and I always loved this part of practice because it didn't feel like the specialists, we talked about this.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like the specialists were ever doing anything while I was fighting people like Landon Tangwall, play in and play out. It felt like you guys were just stretching and hanging out. And Coach Franklin would do this at the end of some practices where he would put the field goal team out there and then spray them with cold water, blast the music, scream in their ear, all that stuff. How much of that extracurricular activity from Franklin and the staff actually leaves you feeling prepared going into Saturday?
It actually really does prepare you for Saturdays. Like people think it's stupid and they watch it and they laugh and think it's really funny, but that prepares you more than anything else can, because for me personally, we do it for push-ups at the end. The whole team will do push-ups after they've just practiced for however many periods. And if we mess up, the push-ups are on us. So everyone's going to be pretty mad at us. So having the weight of putting your teammates through even more pain than what they've already been through is a lot of pressure. So when you're going out there on game day, you kind of think, well, if I could do it then when all that was riding on my back, this is going to be a lot easier.
Riley, I want to ask you, what's your favorite thing about Coach Franklin?
Wow, that's a powerful question.
That's an interesting question.
That's a good question.
Give him a second.
Yeah,
I
wasn't prepared for this.
I kind of came out of nowhere. Well, no, he's got a lot of great qualities. I'm just saying. I'm just curious. What's your favorite thing about him?
I think he really makes you think. He really makes you think about things. Like when he asks you a question, you'll reply and you think oh yeah, I know this. I'm down with this, and then he'll hit you with the next thing, and you're like, I didn't think about that. And I feel like that kind of just prepares you, whether it's football or whether it's how are you preparing for the games, which is something we've been talking about. Values, who represents the values the most. He really makes you explain your thought process. And I think that not only helps you think about what you're saying and what you're trying to deliver, but also everyone else listening to it as well. So no
doubt. No, I think me and Hawk can talk about the fact that Coach Franklin would always say and speak about, hey, I'm not just being great men on the field, but being great men off the field. And, I wanted just as many NFL guys as I do as Fortune 500, CEOs and that type of thing. So he definitely instills great values in us. And another one of your coaches I want to talk about is Coach Lustig. He's in his first year here. How has that transition been with him? And, anytime you have a new coach, you kind of have to learn their coaching styles and adapt to them. So how has that been, that transition?
Coach Stig's been awesome. He, I talk about this all the time. The energy that he brings into the building is just unmatched. He's always upbeat, no matter what time of day, no matter what we're doing. If he thinks the group's real sleepy when we're in meetings, he'll just start screaming things and going crazy, and everyone kind of wakes up and it really helps. But I think that energy that he brings is something we definitely needed in our room. He instills a bunch of confidence in us, which obviously is we're taking that onto the field as well. He's always there for us when we need things. He's always checking in, making sure we're doing really well. So no, he's been an awesome addition, and I'm so glad we got him.
No doubt.
You've had the privilege of being at a couple different schools during your college career, and I always tell people that it's not commonplace for most college football programs to put as much emphasis on special teams as they do at Penn State. So I want to ask you, can you feel the difference here at Penn State with how much special teams plays a prominent role in everything that you do on a daily schedule? And do you feel like your teammates also buy in along with the coaches?
I think definitely. I think the way Coach Franklin kind of runs the program and the emphasis that he puts on special teams, he really shows people how much we can change a game. People often kind of overlook it and think that it's not as an important part as some of the other things. But as I always say, you don't realize how bad you need special teams until things go bad, and it kind of changes the whole dynamic of the game. So I think Coach Franklin does an awesome job of kind of showing everyone how important it is, especially with those post-practice, game-winning punts, kicks, whatever it may be. kind of just emphasizing that sometimes it can come down to a punt, kick, snap, or something like that. So I'm so grateful that he does do that, because I think that has a huge impact of how the locker room view us as a group, because a lot of places people kind of are just like, oh, they're the specialists. But I think Penn State, it's a really different vibe and a really different feel.
I want to ask, this is completely unrelated, but this type of thing gets me excited for some reason. So there's a lot of different athletes on that Penn State football team. There are a lot of guys I look at as they walk by and think to myself, I probably wouldn't tussle with that guy if I didn't have to. Who is the one guy in the locker room that if you didn't have to fight, you would not?
It's a good question. I think, well, I see him a lot because he's a locker buddy of mine, but I would never want to fight a mean van over. I just wouldn't want to. We talk. Amino's like one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet in your life. He's got the kindest heart, and he will look after everyone. But yeah, he's not someone I want to be on the bad side of for sure.
Landon, who's your number one?
Oh, my number one? Oh, man. When I was there, probably PJ. Yeah. You didn't really because he was a wrestler in high school. So me and PJ, I was a freshman when he was a senior, and we both went to Maryland private schools. And I didn't wrestle, but I'd hear stories around the halls of good counsel, like, oh, I got to wrestle PJ Mustipher this weekend. So, he's a big bear. Yeah, he is. You probably wrestled him.
PJ is my best friend on the planet. Okay, there's nobody that I'm closer to than PJ Mustipher. And there was one time me and PJ got into it. I may or may not have stolen his sweatpants. Didn't ask him first, was in a rush. He came home and was like, yo, where are my sweatpants? I'm like, well, I got them. And what are you going to do about it? And PJ Mustipher had me in a single leg. And I'm talking about my knee is touching my forehead. And he's just walking. I'll never touch him again. Because he's such a nice guy off of the field. And he looks big and cuddly. You wouldn't anticipate that he is as athletic as he is, as technical as he is. So
fair point.
PJ's up there.
Were you on the Shield at all?
I was on the Shield.
Okay, so just to give a background on what the Shield is, you know how when Riley's out there every Saturday, he has 3 guys that's about 5 yards in front of him. And actually, no, don't give that. Anyway, we won't give the exact number, but anyway. And so it's kind of cool because it's almost like, you protect the quarterback and you think of him like, I have to go out there and protect this guy. And you feel that in your heart. And you kind of feel that when you're on the Shield with the punter, because he's got to get the ball off and he's kind of like a second quarterback. Yeah. But would you feel comfortable having Hawk a punt protector? Because I did block for Riley on the Shield.
Let's slow down. Let's slow down. At this point, I'm 300 pounds. All right, I'm a lot bigger. Now my knees still don't work, and I'm still not all that physically tough. But I was practicing every day. What do you think?
I trust anyone who's back there. So my guys have got my back. You can put anyone out there. Doesn't matter.
I can tell this story now. We got to get to the break here in a second, so this will be quick. But I was the second string personal protector all season long. So I'm thinking if Nick Dawkins gets hurt, it's going to be my job to take. So inevitably, of course, week 9. Nick Dawkins pulls his quad. He's hurt. So they come to me in the training room. Coach Franklin comes to me in the training room. He's like, hey, are you ready to go in if you have to? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. All week long, I'm practicing with the starters. Game day comes along. Friday night comes along in the hotel. They pass out the depth charts, and I'm personal protector number 4. Actually, they're like, no way in hell you're going out there and protecting Jordan Stout right now. So, yeah,
you're ready though. You're ready to go. I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, mentally. The problem with being the personal protector is it's a lot more physical than it is mental. Sometimes. Yeah, you got guys that are coming full speed, so it's not just about the mental game.
Honestly, people talk about kickoff and how hard that is, but honestly, it's kind of a form of kickoff because you have to shuffle to the side while someone runs full speed at you and just tries to kill you. It's very interesting. And I got to give a shout out to our guy, Ty Howell, the tight ends coach here at Penn State. Yeah. He is the coach of the Shields. And those meetings are electric. And it just gets me fired up anytime he has them. I don't know if you ever had. Did you ever?
Yeah, he was my guy. Yeah, he would come in with the Lucky Charm, like sugar cookie, candy.
Dude, always coming in with snacks. I mean, because he's an offensive lineman, he gets it.
Yeah, once they bumped me down to 4th string on there, the only reason I still engaged in those meetings was so I could get one of those bags of candy at the end of the week.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm admitting a lot on the air today. Riley, we appreciate your time as always. Best of luck with the rest of the season.
Thanks so much, Riley.
Stay tuned on the other end of the Blue White Player Show.
WFXS, once again. Your sports radio. Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority. WFXS America. 98.7, the Fox State College.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get too quick to steak and lube.
Get our Best Wings USA signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get too quick to steak and lube.
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates, Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
You're tuned in to the Blue and White Players Show with Keith Goon Conlon, Aeneas Hawkins, and Landon Tengwall. Broadcasting live from the 19th hole at the Penn State Golf Courses every Monday at 6 p.m. all season long. Special thanks to this season's sponsors of the Players Show: Lusk & Associates, Sotheby's International Realty, Turner Construction, Austin and Pam Schanfelter, Chris and Lisa Heydrich, Marco Rivera, and Sherry Lane. Now back to more of the Blue and White Players Show.